Hello, everyone. We are going to break from the routine a little bit this week, and I am going to tell you a story. And as you could probably guess, since I'm doing this for Seaside Sessions, it is a story with a moral. So I want you to think about what that moral might be as I read. And think about, as we get started, if you have ever taken more than you needed of something. We all do it sometimes when we're really tempted by something, maybe chocolate at Halloween, take a couple of extra pieces from the bowl when you're trick-or-treating. But sometimes we can go a little bit overboard. So in the story that I'm going to tell you today, an entire town learns off that when you bite off more than you can chew, it can leave a very bad taste in your mouth. Now, this story is called The Missing Mountainside. And versions of this tale come from Taiwan, which is a mountainous island off the coast of China. So, if you visit the island of Taiwan, you'll find many hills and mountains. And one of those mountains has a very intriguing history. It's known as Banping Mountain or Half Screen Mountain. And it has that name because when the mountain was first formed, one side of it had a totally flat face, like a screen. It was as if someone had taken the biggest knife you've ever seen and sliced part of the mountain clear away. Science says that this unusually flat face was the result of tectonic plate movements and the movements of the Earth's crust. But legend says it was the result of something else entirely. And it all began long, long ago in a bustling town at the mountain's base. Now, the town was home to a lively marketplace where people flocked hither and yon to haggle over flowers and fruits, silks and spices, rugs and rice. One day, an old woman with long, silvery hair showed up at the marketplace. She was pushing a rickety cart with a bright silver pot on top. "Dumplings, steamed dumplings here, get 'em while they're hot," she said. The dumplings in the woman's pot sent a delicious aroma wafting through the marketplace. And before long, dozens of market-goers were jostling for a place in line. "I must get my hands on some of those dumplings. Oh, they smell amazing. Tell us, old woman, how much do they cost?" The old woman tapped a wrinkled finger to her chin. And she said, "How much do they cost, you ask? What a marvelous question. I was thinking I would sell one dumpling for 1 copper piece, 2 dumplings for 2 copper pieces, and 3 dumplings for free." The market goers were taken aback. They didn't think she could be serious. She must be joking, right? One of them said to her, "Are you actually telling us that you sell 1 dumpling for a copper piece? And 2 for 2 copper pieces, but you'd give 3 dumplings away for free. Is that correct?" She said, "That's absolutely correct. I would never lie, but these dumplings aren't going to sell themselves. So let's start with you, sir." So the woman turned to the first person in line and asked how many dumplings the man wanted. And he said, "Well, if you're really giving 3 dumplings away for free, then I will take 3 dumplings. And she gave them to him. And she asked the woman in line how many dumplings she wanted. And the woman also said, "I'd like 3, of course. Why pay for just 1 or 2 when I can get 3 for free?" Why, indeed. And sure enough, everyone in line, all day long, people lined up at the old woman's cart to buy her dumplings. But they weren't really buying them because all they did was take them. Not a single person paid for 1 dumpling or for 2 dumplings. They all took 3 dumplings for free and then gobbled them down with gusto. They were so delicious and they just could have eaten them all day. And they were trying to figure out what the woman might have put in them, maybe rice or mushrooms or some kind of meat. They couldn't figure it out, but what they did know was that if the woman came back tomorrow, they were going to get all the free dumplings that they could. So the next day, much to everyone's delight, the old dumpling seller did come back and offered the same curious deal as the day before. 1 dumpling for 1 copper piece, 2 dumplings for 2 copper pieces, and 3 dumplings for free. Once more, crowds of market goers swarmed to her cart. And can you guess how many they each ordered? They, of course, all ordered 3 dumplings because they were free. And the old woman wasn't earning a cent, but she didn't seem to mind. She wore a big smile as she gave her dumplings away. And as her customers stuffed them silly, she had a twinkle in her eye. She thought to herself, there seems to be no end to these people's appetite and no bottom to their stomachs. But if everything goes as I hope it will, they'll need a very strong stomach to handle what I have in store. So the next day, it was the same thing. The old woman attracted tons of customers and they all made the same demand. They wanted 3 dumplings. They wanted 3 free dumplings. It happened over and over again, every day, the same thing. But then, after a week, a young woman wearing worn-out shoes and a patched-up shirt got to the front of the dumpling seller's line. She said, "Excuse me, ma'am, but I've been hearing all week about your amazing dumplings, and I'd love to have a taste. So I'm wondering, may I please have just one?" A hush fell over the crowd. The old woman cupped a weathered hand over her ear. She said, "I'm sorry, young lady, but I can't always rely on these old ears of mine. Did I hear you correctly? Did you really just order 1 dumpling?" And she said, "Well, yes, just 1 dumpling." The other market goers stared in disbelief. They couldn't believe that she'd order just 1 dumpling and pay for it when she could get 3 for free. They thought she must have dumpling for brains. But the young woman said, "Yes, I know, I've heard all about the 3 free dumplings, but this old woman of whom you speak, all week long she has carted her heavy load of dumplings to this marketplace, and from what I hear, all week long she has fed everyone for free. Is this true, madam?" And the old woman nodded. "So people near and far have been raving about your dumplings, yet no one has seen fit to pay you a cent. Am I the only one who sees how wrong that is? You deserve to make a living, just like the rest of us. What you don't deserve is to be taken advantage of. So here." And the young woman reached into her pocket and pulled out 1 copper piece. She told the old woman, "Times have been hard for me lately, and I have just enough money to pay for 1 dumpling, but it's better than nothing." The old woman gazed at the copper piece, and she gazed at the young woman, and she sighed and said good day to her and thanked her. The market goers exchanged confused looks. The young woman was pretty mystified herself when the old woman said, "Your 1 copper piece is more than enough to show me that you have passed my test." Everyone looked around confused, and the young woman said, "Test? I don't understand. What kind of test are you talking about?" And the old woman told the young woman and all the market goers, "Well, the truth of the matter is I am not a kooky old dumpling seller, as many people have come to call me. I am actually the spirit of the mountain that looms over this village, a powerful deity who has been seeking a trustworthy and true-hearted soul to reward for their goodness. And you, my dear, you are that trustworthy and true-hearted soul. You are the one I have been waiting for, and as such, you will receive a well-deserved reward." Now the mountain spirit lifted the dumpling pot and placed it in the young woman's hands. She told her, "This dumpling pot is for you. Keep it in your possession, and whenever you're hungry, just reach inside and a fresh-made dumpling will be waiting. The pot's magic will only work if you just take what you need. But something tells me you won't have a problem with that." The young woman was so thankful. She said, "Thank you, mountain spirit. I thank you truly." And then she and the mountain spirit disappeared from the crowds. But as she left, the old woman, the mountain spirit, said to the gathered crowds, "I want all of you to look up. Lift your heads and take a peek at the mountain towering above you and tell me what you see." The market goers did as they told and craned their necks upwards. And what they saw made their jaws drop. The side of the mountain was no longer there. It's like somebody had sliced it cleared off or chopped it clear away. They didn't know where it had gone and asked the old woman what she had done with it. And the old woman replied, "The question is not what I have done with it. The question is what you have done with it." The market goers were too stunned to speak. The mountain spirit fixed them with a steely stare and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, the dumplings you've been eating all week long were not real dumplings. They were made from the stones of the mountain. And now, thanks to your self-serving actions and gluttonous greed, half of the mountain is gone, never to return. So let this be a lesson to you all, that sometimes what is taken away cannot ever be replaced." And with that, she raised her head, waved her arms, and disappeared. The market goers felt their hearts throb with remorse and their stomachs ache with pain, because all of a sudden they could feel the heavy, rocky pieces of the missing mountainside churning in their bellies, not dumplings after all. And unfortunately, that's not the end of the story, because years and years later, in more recent times, humans began eating away at this mountainside, again, Bing Pong Mountain. Sometime in the last century, Banping Mountain became a rock quarry, and miners have chipped away at the mountain's precious limestone, carting it off to sell. So these days, what was called Half-Screen Mountain no longer actually has that sheer cliff drop, like someone sliced one side clear away. Instead, it has sloping sides all around, because the market goers were greedy and the mountain spirit sliced off the side of the mountain, but then the stone cutters were greedy and they mined all the limestone out of the mountains. So now it has sloping sides all around. But even though it looks much like many other mountains, it can still serve as a towering reminder to take only what we need and never bite off more than we can chew, quite literally in the case of this story. So that is it for this evening. I hope you enjoyed the story. I will see you next time.